I once heard from a rabbi, a Hasidic rabbi, that came from a context in which people didn't have the custom of taking many pictures of weddings, perhaps because he was too old, that there's this custom, there's this tradition that when a couple has tension, when a couple has a fight, a discussion, an argument, the custom is to tell them to go find the ketubah and to look at the ketubah. I think it's a beautiful custom to remind people why is it that they got married. Sometimes when it comes to relationships, we continue in our relationships and sometimes we deviate from the original purpose of that relationship, and objects or rituals, or maybe in modern days, pictures and movies, help us reconnect with that foundational moment in which we made the holy covenant of love and mutual respect. The Torah has a similar idea with rituals, but not when it comes to interpersonal relationships, but when it comes to national relationships. Those of you who have studied with me the book of Deuteronomy throughout the summer, you know, and for those who didn't come to the class, there are a few here that didn't come to the class. For those who didn't come to the class, maybe this is something new, but at the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, Moshe is going to share one of his biggest fears. He is afraid that once the Israelites conquer the land and settle in the land of Israel, a land that flows milk and honey and everything is good and fruitful and successful, they are going to forget the heavy price that they have paid in order to inherit that land. They are going to forget the essence of the covenant that made them rightful inheritors of that land. And therefore, eventually, and remember Moshe has the gift of prophecy, God is going to decide to evict them, to expel them from the land of Israel. Now Moshe is a leader. He knows that he's not going to be there forever. He knows that he has the situation under control for as long as he lives, but he cannot ensure that we will stay connected to the essence after his departure. And in this week's Parsha, he has this brilliant idea, which is to command a ritual. It's actually the only written liturgy in the whole Torah that is commanded by Moshe, the ritual of bringing the first fruits to the temple, a ritual in which, in the holiest day or one of the holiest days of the year, the Israelites are going to remember their history and reconnect with the essence of who we are and what's our purpose on this earth. The ritual of the Bikkurim is a ritual in which everyone would bring something to contribute to the common good and make a declaration in which they say, my father was a fugitive Aramean, he went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there, but there he became a great and very populous nation. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us, oppressed us, they imposed heavy labor upon us. We cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our plea and saw our plight, our misery, our oppression. The Lord freed us from Egypt, and then, we wandered through the desert, and eventually we arrived to the land of Israel. And I think what Moshe is doing here is brilliant because he wants to make sure that we Jews never forget when we are enjoying the bounty of the land that flows milk and honey, the price that we paid for that. He wants to make sure that we never forget that it's not about the milk and the honey, it's about the essence of building a nation in which we can live together with each other. A nation that, and I'm talking about the Israelite nation, will have civil wars, will have fight among the different tribes, will have many political assassinations, will have revolutions. And so Moshe wants to make sure that every year, once a year, we remember that we shouldn't take what we have for granted. This is not the only mitzvah. There's another mitzvah that will come in the Parsha next week, which is the mitzvah of Hakel, the mitzvah of, on another holiday, gathering everyone and reading the Torah out loud. Every year. Let's remember what's the basis of our coexistence together? What are the legal systems and the framework that enable us to live with each other? Imagine if July 4th wasn't about hot dogs and burgers, but rather about reading the Declaration of Independence. Imagine if Memorial Day was not about sales, but actually about remembering the price that we have paid to have the glorious nation in which we live and that we must take care for. Imagine if every single holiday of our calendar was not a holiday in which we rush to the malls or take a weekend elsewhere, but actually we reconnect with the essence of the nation that we make together. That's the proposal of the Torah. Just like this rabbi was saying, once in a while, look at the ketubah. Once in a while, after your 20, 30, 40 years of marriage, remember that back then you fell in love. You made a holy covenant. You decided that you were going to forge a bond together based on values and ideals that are essential to who you are. I think the Torah has a great idea with the ritual of the Bikkurim and the mitzvah of Hakel, an idea that perhaps we should reflect upon, but somehow adopt as a nation. An idea in which holidays and rituals are symbols that enable us to connect with the essence. Yes, we see the flag and we realize, actually the light is off. We see the flag and we realize that we are blessed to live in perhaps the most wonderful nation on earth. We see the flag and we see braveness and freedom. We see courage and liberty. But it's not about the flag. It's about building a society that is modeled and shaped after those values. And that's something that always starts at home. That's something that each and every one of us needs to contribute their grain of salt, their grain of sand, so that this nation is that which was meant to be when our founding fathers envisioned it. We don't know how to have a discussion with our partner, with the person who works with us, with our teachers or our students. Then how are we going to hope that other people are going to know how to have discussions? You know, people who become presidents of nations or CEOs of big companies were once kids that had dinner at the table with their parents. And if they know how to engage in conversation, it's because they learned it there. And if they don't, it's because they haven't learned it there. It all starts in our community. It all starts in our city. It all starts in our congregation. It all starts in the most basic relationship that we are supposed to sustain with love, with mutual respect, with fairness. I hope and pray that this week's Parsha inspire us to take symbols and transform them into values, to make of rituals and holidays an opportunity to reflect upon the essence of the country that we were, that we are, and that we are supposed to build together. It's not about going back to a nostalgic past. It's about shaping the future for our children. It's not about believing that everything that we left behind was better. It's about hoping and dreaming that we can build something that even supersedes what we inherited. I am not sure we are in the right path. I do not think that the events of this past week serve as a sign that we are walking in the right direction. But perhaps, if we reconnect with the values, the foundational values of this great nation, we can contribute our own share to rebuild it in the essence that their founding fathers dreamed of.